and welcome to Trade Finance Talks. I'm Jord Billen, Editorial Assistant at Trade Finance Global, and today we are at ICC Austria's 2024 Trade Finance Week, held here in Vienna. I'm delighted to be joined by Andrea Tang, Legal Services Director of the International Federation of Freight Forwarders Association, or FIATA, talking about the importance of understanding Incoterms for documentary credit checkers, the digitalisation of transport documents, and the role of international collaboration in trade finance. Andrea, welcome to Trade Finance Talks.
Thank you.
So first off, could you maybe tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
So as you mentioned, I'm Andrea Tang. I'm the Legal Services Director at FIATA. And FIATA is the global voice of freight forwarding and logistics industry. We're the oldest and widest representation. We were established in 1926, and we represent freight forwarders in over 150 countries. We have around 115 association members, which of course then also represent freight forwarders in their different regions, as well as about 6,000 individual members. And overall, we represent an industry of around 40,000 plus freight forwarders.
Thank you. So, as a speaker at ICC Austria's Trade Finance Week, you've tackled the subject of Incoterms and documentary credit at this year's Global Conference of Letters of Credit. Could you explain why a documentary credit checker or a doc checker needs to be familiar with the ICC Incoterms?
Well, I think that first of all, it's probably also useful to just mention quickly the role of freight forwarders, because I think that they play really an important role in this whole process. Because freight forwarders are really the ones that are organizing transport across the different routes, finding the best routes, the best modes of transport, and really helping their clients, the shippers, to be able to realize their obligations under the contracts of sale. So when the buyer and seller are creating this contract of sale, they will do so in accordance with certain Incoterms, which therefore outlines the roles, the responsibilities of the parties, and so the freight forwarder is then the one that is really assisting with this. For example, from logistics to documents to compliance with relevant regulations to customs. So it's really the Incoterms are really very important and really show where the risk lies. And so for a documentary credit checker, it would then be important to really understand this, to be able to look at the documents and be able to see. To ensure that, first of all, that the Incoterms are appropriately reflected in the letters of credit, and also to ensure that the documents presented are in compliance with those Incoterms, because those are really the underlying contractual elements.
Sure, thank you. So talking about transport documents inevitably leads to the current debate on digitalisation, particularly bills of lading. The digital FIATA bills of lading, or the FBL, can be used as an electronic bill of lading. How does this actually work?
So, that's a very interesting question. So the FIATA Bill of Lading, first of all, the paper version was originated actually in 1968, and then it kind of evolved over the years. It was really something that also it became negotiable as a result, because there was the need from shippers to be able to have trade finance from the banks, and so there was really the need to ensure that they have this Bill of Lading from the forwarders who are the closest to the shipper clients. To be able to do so. And so this has been something that is really, I would say, very long-standing practice to use the FIATA Bill of Lading. Is widely recognized around the world, and because it has certain compliance requirements, it is also has a good reputation because it's really seen as a document of integrity. So that was the paper version. Now going to the electronic version, we really saw that there was a need to continue to strengthen the benefits of the FIATA Bill of Lading and to really ensure that it can continue to fulfill its requirements in terms of accessibility, ease of use, facilitation of trade through digitalisation. So we embarked on this journey to digitalise the FIATA Bill of Lading, FBL for short, and what we did was we created this kind of immutable blockchain system. So we always talk about originals for bills of lading. So now for the original is this digital record, which is an immutable track of exactly, the data, what's going on, where, how the document has been transferred, who has exclusive possession over the document. So all of these things are contained in the blockchain record. And this is something that then can also facilitate the possibility to have greater security, greater trust, and hopefully be able to prevent then the situations such as fraud, which is sometimes the risk with paper documents. And so what would happen in this case is we also have the users who have a FIATA digital identity. And this digital identity contains certain information about the entity, contains the fact that they have been verified, that they are a real company, that they have liability insurance, which is something that is very important for freight forwarders to have to use the FIATA bill of lading to begin with, and any other important information. This is something that we really include in the digital identity that ensures compliance also with other parties' requirements, maybe if there's certain compliance requirements. These are all things that can be embedded into this identity. And so then issuing the bill of lading, that identity is linked to the issuance of the bill of lading, which is all in this immutable record. And then what would happen is you would basically have this original data, plus you can have the option to have a PDF copy, and you can have various PDF copies, but it would be marked very clearly copy on it. And those that receive this paper, if you want to use this paper PDF copy, they can use the QR code to basically scan the document, and that would take you to a certain portal which shows the audit trail. And this is something that then ensures that all stakeholders interacting with the document are able to verify that it's an original, that is the correct document, check that the information on there is as is required. And then that would basically be the journey of the issuance of the FIATA bill of lading. Then for the transfer, that's something that you have different options. You can either continue digitally, fully, through platforms, especially those that are recognized by the International P&I Group. Those tend to be the ones that at the moment in practice are recognized to transfer the negotiable documents. Or you could also continue, in a kind of hybrid form with a PDF copy and the electronic as the original. Or you can continue to convert fully to paper if that's something that's required by local practices, because I think at the moment we're still having some divergences in practices regarding electronic documents. So if you then have a need to fully convert the process to paper, we would then basically have a way to close off the electronic record, then everything moves to paper, and this is then very clearly identified and it continues as a normal process.
Thank you. So does that mean that countries can postpone or even forgo the adoption of the UNCITRAL model or on transferable electronic records?
Definitely not. So, as you probably heard from my very long explanation of the EFBL, I think what is at the moment the case is that we still have the issue that countries have different practices, and this can sometimes cause some level of uncertainties for those dealing with it. So I can imagine also for the banks that are the ones issuing the letters of credit, sometimes there's still a little bit of uncertainty. And I think on the industry level, where it's really being regulated at the moment a little bit more on a contractual basis, especially in instances where there's a gap in the legislation. So with the MLETR, it ensures that you have the legal equivalence, the legal recognition of the functional equivalence between a paper and an electronic bill of lading. And this is something that's really important for countries to adopt, so that they can ensure that there is this certainty, there is this recognition of electronic documents, and that we have harmonization as well, because harmonization is something that's really key at the moment.
Thank you. So, as BIMCO, DCSA, FIATA, ICC and SWIFT have joined the FIT Alliance, do you believe that we're moving into a more collaborative space amongst international organisations? And what role do platforms such as ICC Austria's Trade Finance Week play in this?
So I think collaboration is really, really, really key in all of this. So FIATA has been working hard from the beginning to ensure that there's a high level of collaboration across the industry, both between industry and also with governments as well. So the FIT Alliance you mentioned is definitely a very important one because it brings together also the container and bulk shipping, the ICC, SWIFT, FIATA, and it ensures that we can really work together to promote common standards and to promote, for example, the MLETR adoption, and to ensure that there is then this level of harmonization in terms of the standards. And in addition to that, FIATA has been working a lot at the intergovernmental level to ensure that the standards are also compatible with the government's digital initiatives, because that's also very important. If we're transferring data around the supply chain, we need to ensure that these systems are able to speak to each other, right? So for example, we worked a lot with the United Nations CFACT to ensure that our standard, our data standard, is compatible with their data standard. And also we're currently working now with the World Customs Organization to ensure that we also have the compatibility between our data standard and their data model, and that would then ensure that we can, also have the data from our electronic bill of lading speaking to the customs authorities. So all of that is really very important that we work together. I think some of the risks sometimes with digitalization is that we have so many initiatives going on that we can have the issue of sometimes fragmentation or the risk of fragmentation. So we really need to ensure that we're cohesive. And in terms of ICC, we work a lot with ICC, especially on the Digital Standards Initiative. FIATA is an advisory board member to the Digital Standards Initiative, and we've been working a lot also on really being able to look at some of these key issues in digitalization, such as the trust, because trust is very important, and that's one area where the stakeholders definitely need to work on. So we, for example, launched a report to which FIATA contributed heavily to on trust in trade. We also did one very recently on key trade document elements. I might be saying that slightly wrong, but it's the KTDE report. And that one really maps out the different documents in international trade. And again, FIATA worked very closely with the ICC DSI to contribute its inputs there as well. So yeah, in a nutshell, collaboration very important. And the ICC Trade Finance Week, I'm really happy to be a part of it, because I think it's really an excellent opportunity to bring together, the different stakeholders in the industry. Banking is really underpinning so much in international trade. So having the opportunity to really go a bit deeper into some of these topics, and to really also from the electronic bills of lading perspective, really be able to exchange and see how we can move forward on some of these topics. I think that's something that's really important. So I can only thank ICC Austria for the invitation, and to congratulate them as well for the great attendance, the great topics, and the great speakers over here.
Thank you. That was Andrea Tang, Legal Services Director at FIATA, and we're at ICC Austria's Trade Finance Week in Vienna. Andrea, thank you so much.
Thank you.